we're going to go over the floor plan assignment that we're doing in class. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw the perimeter exterior walls, and then we'll continue with the interior walls. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to invoke the wall tool, and we want to make sure that we select the exterior siding on 2x4 studs. Okay, the location line, we're going to draw this core face exterior. And then the top constraint, it needs to go up to level 2. That's how high the wall is going to be drawn. And then hit apply. And now we can start drawing. So picking anywhere in the screen, I'm going to move my cursor in the direction that I want to draw my wall, and then I type the distance, 42 feet. And then we're going to go down 32 foot 4, 14 foot 9, 5 feet, 8 foot 6, 3 foot 4, 18 foot 9, and we close. Okay, so notice that the line work is really thick and I don't see my details. So up here in the quick toolbar, we have the thin lines option to turn off and on. So right now it's turned on, but if we click on that, the icon stays highlighted in blue. We can see that our line work is a lot thinner now. All the lines are thin, and that's what we want to see. So we have our perimeter. Now I'm going to add some dimensions so we can constrain the perimeter of the house plan. So in the Annotate tab, I'm going to select Aligned Dimension. And then I'm going to zoom in really close, and my mouse cursor, I'm going to hover it right about here. It defaults to the center, to the wall center line, but that's not where I want to measure. I want to dimension to the exterior face of the stud wall. So I move my cursor on top of that, and on the keyboard I press the Tab key. So I press Tab, and that wall line highlights. I click the mouse, and then I drag over here, zoom in, hover over my wall line, press Tab, click, and then I've got my dimension. I place it, and notice that I have the little icon of the lock. So if I want to constrain that distance to always be 42 feet, I want to make sure that that one is locked. Okay, we continue. So I hover over the face of the stud wall, click. Same thing on this side, click, and place. Lock that wall. Continue. Tab, click. Tab. And I don't want that one, I want this one over here, so I need to make sure that that one is highlighted. So I click and continue my dimension string. Tab, tab, click, and one more time, tab, click. So I've got my dimension string, I place it, and I lock these dimensions. One more string, tab, click, tab, click, tab, click, and lastly, tab, click. So I place these out here, and I lock the dimension, and we're done. So by locking these dimensions, it means that if I try and move any of these walls, the whole footprint goes with that movement. So it maintains the dimensions that I identified. So same thing in this direction, the whole floor plan moves. So that's what I want. I want it locked so that when I'm drawing the interior walls, and if I do a mistake and if I accidentally move something, it doesn't change the perimeter of my house plan. So I continue with my interior walls now. I go to my architectural tab and click on wall, and now I'm going to use the interior 2x4. So I got to find it, interior 2x4 right here. Okay, so I'm going to draw this wall, and on here I want to make sure I'm going to change it up. I'm going to use the finished face exterior. so that I can line up my wall with that one. I notice that when I'm drawing this wall, it's on the opposite side that I wanted to draw. So on the keyboard, press tab, not tab, I'm sorry, the space bar, space bar, space bar. You can flip your wall to whatever direction you want to go. So here I'm just going to stretch it all the way across to that point. So I've got my garage wall right here, and then let me move my floor plan over here. So that's this wall. Now I'm going to draw this wall, and then I'm going to continue with my foyer walls. So let's continue. So I'm going to zoom in closer, and from here I'm just going to eyeball it from here to here, and I can fix it in a little bit. Now I know that this wall is 4 foot 1.5 inches from this side of the stud to that side of the stud. 4 foot 1.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this wall because that's the wall I want to move, and I get the temporary dimensions. Remember that these bubbles, these grips, you click and drag the grip to the side you want to go to. So I'm going to press tab, and I want it placed on that side. I'm going to zoom in a little closer, click on the grip and drag, and then press tab to that point. So I know that this dimension needs to be 4 foot 1.5 inches. Enter. So now that wall is moved to that location. Okay, so now we're going to draw the foyer walls. These right here. Okay, so when we did this in class, we had a very difficult time in creating these walls because we were using the 2x4 wall, and we were drawing it a box here, and then we tried to draw that shape there, and then we were having a hard time closing that. So I'm going to show you a different way to do it and a little bit easier, and so let's try that. Instead of using a single 2x4 wall, I'm going to create a new wall style. So I'll go to my wall, and I'm going to create a duplicate of this wall. So I got the 2x4, I'm going to create a duplicate, and I'm going to call this 2x4 thick wall. Okay? So once I have this active, now I can edit the structure or the size of this wall. So the default was 3.5 inches. What we're going to do is the thickness of this double wall is 11 inches from the face of the stud to the face of the stud. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a really thick wall, and it's going to be 11 inches. And then OK. And then also what we're going to do is we're going to change these settings, and I'll show you why in a little bit. So I'm going to leave this alone, and we'll come back later to change it, and I'll show you why. So for right now, I'm just going to OK. Okay, so we have the 2x4 thick wall active. But before I can draw my wall, I'm going to use a new tool, one that's called reference plane, right here. So reference plane, I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to draw let's see, it's going to be from here. I'm going to draw a reference plane to there. So it's just a line that's a reference that I'm going to use to draw my new wall. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm going to use these reference planes to give me these dimensions: the 9-inch, the 4 1.5, and then the 1.5. Okay, and then I'm going to also draw these reference planes going vertically, so it can give me the 7.5, 2 7.5, and 1.5. So let's try that. So we have this one drawn. I'm going to pick another reference plane, and it's asking me to save. Okay, that's fine. And I'm just going to draw another reference plane about right here. Okay, so I know that this reference plane needs to be 9 inches from the other one. So I'm going to grab this grip and line it up to this one, and then I'm going to move that reference plane by giving it 9-inch dimension. Okay, 9 inch from that reference plane. And then the next one I'm going to draw needs to be 4'1.5" from this one. So I'm going to move this, so I click on it. I click on the grip, drag it to line it up to that one, and then I type the dimension, 4'1.5". So here we go, that one. I need one more reference plane. And this one needs to be, I'm going to again drag this temporary dimension to here. That one needs to be 1'5". Okay, so let's double check it by dimensioning these reference planes. I'm going to use the Annotate tab, and then I'm going to use the Align dimension. So I'm just going to dimension these and put them over here. Okay, now notice that I have these dimensions really huge and I can't read them. So the way to reduce the size of that is to change the scale. Over here I'm going to choose 1/2-inch scale. So if I zoom in, that text is at a much smaller size that I can read a whole lot better. Okay, so now I'm going to draw my reference planes in the opposite direction. So over here, reference plane, and then draw it in this direction. Okay, but this one I want it to line up. Let's see if I can move it. Let me get rid and draw it again. This reference plane needs to line up with this one because we're doing stud face. Okay, so I have that one. I'm going to extend it over past this. I'm going to draw another reference plane from here to here, and this one needs to be 1'5" from that one. So I'll move it 1'5". Okay, draw another one from here to here, and this one needs to be, that needs to be 2'7.5". 2'7.5". And then we have 7.5 inches to the stud line. That is correct. Okay, so now let me dimension these just to make sure. Annotate, Align dimension, and I'm going to start with this reference plane to here, and then tab, click to there. So those are the dimensions that I want in order to match the view that I have here. Okay, so let's try it. I'm gonna move the endpoint of that reference plane to about right there so I can line up with my wall. Here we go. Okay. Back to walls. 2x4 thick wall. Here I'm going to need to use the core face exterior, and I'm going to start right here. Again, I click on the space bar to flip that wall, so I need to go from here to here and then to this point. Escape, and I have a thick wall lining up using my reference plane. So let's take a look at that on 3D. And we have it right here. Okay, so we got a thick wall and a thick wall. Now we're going to add the arches. So we're going to go back to the floor plan view. And we're going to click on this wall. We're going to edit the profile. And then the program is going to ask us, in which view do you want to make these modifications? We have two options. So I'm going to click the east elevation and then open that view. Okay, so I have it right here. And I see my reference planes. Remember, these are the lines where I'm supposed to have my wall opening with. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw the line of the profile. So I'm going to follow my reference plane, and I'm going to go up, I don't know, about 7'6", and then I'm going to do an archway to the other reference plane right here, and then define the arc somewhere about right there. Go back to my line and bring it down to here. Now I need to get rid of this piece, this line segment there, so I'm going to use my break tool, or my split element tool. So I'm going to split it somewhere around the middle, and then the trim to corner to clean this intersection up. So now I have a complete closed outline of my wall profile. I finish my sketch, and then I go to the 3D view, and here we go. That's what we have. Okay? So now we're going to do this wall. Oh, before we do that, let me go back to my floor plan. See what that looks. So now I see that I have my wall cut based on those measurements. But I don't see my wall board right here. It's cut, and I don't have that layer. So that's the setting that I was telling you we need to modify. So in order for me to show that wall layer, I need to edit my wall type. So I go back in the edit structure. Nope, not there. Right here, under wrapping at inserts and wrapping at ends. We need to change these settings to use the both exterior and interior for this option. And then wrapping at ends, we're going to select exterior. And then hit apply, and then OK. And now we have our sheetrock layer showing up. Okay? But the reference plane, the 9 inches, is supposed to be to the face of the stud, this one, not to the face of the sheetrock. So let's edit one more time the profile. Go back to the east elevation, east view, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset a 1/2 inch, make sure that I uncheck copy, and if I zoom in, I'm going to offset to this side a 1/2 inch. So I click once, and then I click again on this side, and now as you can see, I'm 1/2 inch from my reference plane. And I hit OK, and I go back to the floor plan to look at it, and now I have the face of the stud lining up with my reference plane. That's what I want. Okay, let's do this one now. In the assignment handout, that wall opening is 27.5, but it's telling us that it's a half wall, 36 inches above the floor. So let's do that. We select our wall. We edit the profile. And again, I'm going to use the south elevation to edit my wall right here. Okay, so I've got that reference plane and this one right here. I'm going to draw a line, and it needs to be 3 foot from the bottom, so it's going to be somewhere about right there. And I can check it by clicking. It's 3 feet, correct? So I'm going to continue my sketch, and I'm going to go up 4'6" to there, and then I'm going to do another arch to the reference plane, and then just eyeball it, the arc for right now, and then I'm going to continue with a line to do that. That's going to be my wall opening, this one. 3 foot from the floor, and then the archway, and I finish my profile. And let's take a look in 3D, and here it is. Okay, we got there, and then we got this one. So how does it look in plan? Go back to the floor plan, and we have the cutout. But again, we need to move that wall opening 1/2 inch so that the stud lines up with the reference plane. So I'm going to go back to my profile, edit this view, and I'm going to offset 1/2 inch, make sure it's unchecked, and I click on that wall to offset it 1/2 inch to the left, and this one 1/2 inch to the right. And that cleans up nicely. I hit OK, go back to my floor plan, and my wall adjust, and now I have my wall openings correct.